straining for that logo on the side of your helmet and not the name on your back.
Yes, sir.
Because we know what it represents. It represents everybody here you see and everybody you can't that we've talked about. I'm here to strain with you, man. I swear to God, I'm here to strain with you. Let's go. Everything you got, strain with everything you got. Let's go. Bills on 3. 1, 2, 3. Bills.
You're listening to the Off Tackle with John Fina show with your host, Joe Miller. Well, what is going on, everybody? Welcome everybody into the Off Tackle with John Fina show, brought to you by the Market Dominator team on the Buffalo Rumblings Vidcast Network, presented by Picasso's Pizza. Treat yourself to the most flavorful pizza on game day. Picasso's, we are Buffalo Pizza, shipping local and nationwide. Order online at picassospizza.net. I am the host, the very fair-skinned, redheaded host of the Off Tackle with John Fina show. My name is Joe Miller. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired, and sitting right over there beside me is the star of this show, offensive tackle for the Buffalo Bills for a very long time, a decade, in fact, Mr. John Fina himself. John, how you feeling?
I'm feeling great, man. How you feeling?
I'm good. I'm hanging in there. I can't complain at all. It's been a magical weekend. It's funny because 17 years will do it to you. 17 years of having 1 o'clock games, 17 years of no playoffs, 17 years of just repeated stuff. And you get into this rhythm, and Bills fans, Bills Mafia has always been very much like, if it isn't at 1 o'clock, I don't want to watch it. And it's like, are you crazy? If you love football, there's the click of the beer can. If you love football and the Bills can come into the weekend with a W in hand, we've already won a game. And then you can just sit down on the couch on Sunday and consume NFL football, which was by and large amazing this weekend, except for that Cowboys-Bucks game, which I don't know for the life of me why they still keep putting the Cowboys on TV, but they do. So I had a great weekend. I had a fantastic weekend. What did you do this weekend?
Oh man, I was in LA, right?
Yes, you were.
So I hung out at the tailgate with the amazing, absolutely off the hook, amazing Bills Mafia. I met new people. I saw people I knew. It was just fantastic, man. I mean, there's such a great vibe among our Mafia. It is a thrill to be around them. And I signed a few autographs. You know, people are like, "Oh, I don't mean to bother you." And I'm like, "That's what I'm here for, man. Let's have some fun. I'll sign anything, whatever you got. Let's do it." I was pumped up. I got to go up on stage with Patty Thomas and
I saw that.
Addressed the crowd. It was awesome. Saw some people jump through a couple of tables. It was really cool. And then I stay with my cousin and his wife and 2 boys.
Right.
And they're just great. You know, my kids are all older now, so hanging around with young boys and they're funny. Just reliving kind of the old parenting stuff that you kind of miss and really don't miss. And then I spent some good quality time with Bruno. Nice. I got to see his new apartment, and we went out and met his girlfriend's family.
Oh, very cool.
And, watched a little football. Not a ton of football. It was mostly just hanging with the kid.
Yeah.
So it was a terrific weekend. I mean, the UCLA won, and the Bills won, and I mean, what more could I ask for?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a good day. It's a Victory Monday here on the Off Tackle with John Fina show. After a Victory Friday, Victory Saturday, Victory Sunday, it's Victory Monday. Tomorrow will be Victory Tuesday, when a lot of you are listening to this podcast in audio fashion. But just want to say welcome to all the people that are with us. Richard Rush, your daughter Mimi is in the room. Karen's here. Who else is here? Jason Humbert's in the room. Daniel Gowries. I'm Mike 23. I like that name. I'm Mike 23 says, let's go. Eric Farrell says, go Bills. EB says, what's up, fellas? Go Bills. Brett is in the room. Graham Post is in the room. And then Pops Mafia. And he says he's really interested in hearing how you felt each offensive lineman did. We're going to get to that in a minute. And then last but not least, at least in the comments section, is Sarah Larson. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Off Tackle with John Fina show. We are Super Chat Live, so if you want to ask John a question or if you've got a comment for the panel, and I'm part of that panel, please feel free to Super Chat us. I'll do the best I can to stay in the comment section, and if I see something that sticks out to me, I'll throw it up. If I don't, I'm not ignoring you. I apologize. Not you, John. I'm not ignoring the commenters. But like, subscribe, whatever platform you're on. And let's take just a moment here real quick and hear from our show sponsor, the inevitable and wonderful John Spaschak.
The Market Dominator.
Hello, Buffalo football family. My name is John Spaschak, and I am the Market Dominator as well as the very proud sponsor of the John Fina Show, hosted by Joe Miller. You know, these are some of my very good friends, and I love what they do because they bring such a high level of excellence to the show, breaking the game down, helping us as fans understand it more, and so we can engage with love and support for our Buffalo football team. Now, folks, if you're looking to engage in real estate, I'm your guy, because I will bring these same qualities to the table for you to help you win in this competitive market. So whether you're selling or buying, you need to call 716-570-3298 if you want to win. Let's go, Buffalo!
Go Bills. I just want to say that last week we did the whole text John Spaschak thing. And it was awesome.
It's awesome. Well, I think that's awesome that he got the text messages. That's his real phone. He's going to respond,
A couple dozen. He got a couple dozen text messages.
Yeah. And you're going to need a realtor, and you might as well go with a guy who, loves what you love, who does a great job. He's Joe Miller's realtor.
Yes.
When I move back to Buffalo, he'll be my realtor.
Well, listen to this guy. If I ever move to Cabo San Lucas, he's going to be my realtor there.
Yeah, if I ever move to Wyoming. You licensed in Wyoming, Spaschak? Let's go!
I think he is. I think he can help you sell or buy a house anywhere in the continental United States, which Cabo is clearly not in the United States. But who knows? Who knows what the next 10 years will look like? We'll see. But all right, so let's get this show started. Let's kick this thing off. And we are back in what I would consider mid-season form. And we're going to go down our topics that we have used the last 2 years, and it starts all right here. And I'm going to let you go first with your thoughts, just your overall general thoughts of the football game that we watched. That you said the one you said the Bills would not win.
Yeah, I was waiting for that, right? I just can't pick a perfect season, so I had to pick who I thought would step up. And well, okay, so you proved me wrong. You're 1-0. I'm 0-1. Fight me.
I think it's getting close, dude. Like age, one of us works out. It's not the former NFL player. I'm getting my knee fixed.
I don't know how many of these you think you can take.
I'm getting my knee fixed next week. I'll be a spry young man at that point.
Oh my God, spry, please. I'll tell you about spry later in the show, but all right, generally.
Wait. Look at this guy.
What is up? Old Bruno Fia, say hello to your sister, buddy. She's in the comments too. How about that? I got 50% of my kids.
Bruno, you don't even know me. How do you know that I'm an old guy? Did I say I was an old guy?
Buddy, he just heard you talking about your decrepit knee. You can see the white and the orange of your beard. Kid's smart. All right, so generally speaking, wow, defensively, it was just wow.
Yeah.
The concern obviously was the secondary. We talked about the front four having to bring pressure with just four. They did it. The left guard for the Rams, I'm not even going to say his name. Man, he didn't even want to look at that film. What Jordan Phillips did to him was just incredible. I mean, sad, but incredible for us. So the pressure on the secondary wasn't great. The offense performed well, minus the turnovers, 3 of which were, you just can't put the ball on the ground. You can't fumble that, as a running back. Isaiah McKenzie giving the ball back. Josh, that was a poor throw, but not a great route either by Jameson Crowder. So I'm trying to not be general, but I get so sucked in, man. I just watched the game and
Yep.
I mean, it's wow. And I'll tell you another wow. holy cow, the Rams just did not plan to be without Von Miller, to be out without Odell Beckham. They didn't look they look like a middle tier team. That's my general impression.
Yeah, it was interesting to me because just knowing coming into this game that Sean McVay was 5-0, right, going into season openers. To include, I think maybe he didn't have a national stage season opener. I just know that he was 5-0 in season openers in the past. So, and we talked about this, I believe, last week, that it presents a situation where you realize that he is very good at preparing his team for that first game. They've got months and months and months to prepare, and Sean McVay is one of the better ones at it. And I would, go as far as to say that Sean McDermott might not be. I mean, last year I was there. We got housed by the Steelers in our own house in a home opener, a game that we could have won. We should have won. We beat ourselves. So going into it, I was surprised as well. I don't want to say that they laid down, but I talked a lot about the emotion on both sides. And I think the last phrase that I got, was it Thursday? It was Thursday pregame. The last phrase that I got in my head was that the Buffalo Bills were going to come out and they were either going to be bullies in that football game or they were going to get bullied in that football game. And that literally teetered on that emotion. So the Rams banner raising, right, coming off of a Super Bowl and they've got the first game jitters and the first game stuff and national media and the emotion of, wait a minute, we're the world champions. Why is everybody telling us that team across the field is better than us and they're going to go to the Super Bowl and win this year when we're the ones that everybody's got to beat? So all that emotion. And then you got the Bills side, which, let's be honest with you, coming off of still the Chiefs loss, 13 seconds, coming off of being in that stadium and watching a banner go up in the air, a banner that maybe they felt they were robbed from, right, this past offseason, that maybe they had a chance to go. And then, again, all the stuff on top of it. But at the end of the day, your point is valid. Von Miller showed up. The Rams, who faced him for the better part of half a season in practice every day, had no answer for him. There was one point where Chris Collinsworth literally said that whoever the guy, something Bloom, whatever the guy's name, Note Boom. Yeah, Note Boom is doing pretty well. He shouldn't have any trouble holding off Von Miller in this game. In the very next play, Von Miller just basically shoves him back into Matt Stafford and gets his first sack of the game in the first drive, the first series.
That was a beautiful sack. The second one was not his fault. That was Stafford's fault. But
right. Are you talking about the one where he dove around him when he dove over and grabbed Stafford?
Well, he shook him and went around. Even though Collinsworth said he came under, I was like, dude, what did you just watch? But yeah, he kind of shook him a little, and he's just so quick, and he just went around him. But Stafford initially dropped to about 11 yards and stepped up to about 9, but that's still a death knell. If you're a quarterback and you're at 9.5, I'm sorry, I ain't blocking for you.
Yeah. I want to come back to that just because I want to talk real quick, and then I want to come back to just that point because I watched or heard or read something. I don't remember exactly what I was watching, but they addressed something about the drops and whatnot, dropping quarterback drops. It can't be overstated, understated. It can't be stressed enough how important it was for the Buffalo Bills to come out of what I would consider one of three incredibly important games against three very, very difficult opponents. This one, in my opinion, the Chiefs, the Bengals are like the three major opponents that they have, especially after watching Green Bay yesterday. Green Bay was, and they could rebound, but they were a shell of themselves. What are your initial thoughts just on that, as far as like the meaning of this game coming out with a W? Is there a letdown period coming? Is it the 10-day, 11-day window they have enough to like quench that, or where are they at emotionally?
No, I by the way, your audio is a little muted, but I'll say this. I don't see it. Well, it's better now. I'll say that I wouldn't expect that. There's just too much. There was too much execution. It's not like the Rams went out and hurt themselves, and you get this false sense of security like you beat a team who just went around making a lot of mistakes. No, the Bills forced it. They bullied them, like you wanted to say, and it was that creates a real sense of confidence, and they were able to do things. I mean, they did more or less whatever they wanted.
Yeah,
I mean, there were a few snafu plays that left me scratching my head, but I don't foresee a letdown coming, especially after, you mentioned the Steeler game for the opener. There's still the sting of the last game of last year. And that also coming with that sting was, this feeling like you're looking around at each other and saying, we're missing a couple of pieces, but damn it, we had them.
Right.
And now we added pieces, and there's really nowhere to look. You can't look around and say we don't have the right guys. I mean,
right.
Somebody may try to expose the rookie DBs that we have, but what cures that is a great four-man front. Matt Milano doing Matt Milano stuff.
And he did.
And he was brilliant in the game.
Yep.
So I just don't see a letdown. I really don't. And the offensive line played particularly well, minus really only one play, in my opinion.
And that's funny too that you even say that, because we've learned on this show from talking to you that the offensive line, by and large, they get highly criticized for one bad play. Meanwhile, the majority of the rest of the game, they did a very, very good job. Mm-hmm. And I don't necessarily remember. I mean, obviously, Josh got sacked, I believe, twice in the football game,
and one was on Josh.
Right?
He ran up in the pocket, didn't need to.
But I mean, when you look at that offensive line, Dawkins, Saffold, Mitch Morse, Ryan Bates, and Spencer Brown, just the feeling that the expectation, and we could probably slide into the good at this point. The expectation that I have for this season, for me, just knowing that this is without a doubt the best line that Josh has ever had in front of him. It might be the best offensive line that the Bills have had in a very, very, very long time. I don't know how long, but long, right? Long. I mean, when you look even back to, and I don't even know if you were following the Bills back then, when they brought in Langston Walker and Derek Dockery, they paid a ton of money for them, and both those guys busted. Mike Williams, they drafted number 4 overall, and he was a bust. All these guys that they brought in over the years that just never panned out. There's a good chance that this is the best offensive line since you were playing.
I guess I'd be hard pressed to disagree with you. The only thing you could say is, a guy like Josh Allen makes everybody look better and play better.
Right.
A solution-oriented guy with a skill set that just seems unlimited.
Right.
Certainly can bail out offensive linemen and, well, everyone else too at the same time.
Right.
So it's wonderful to watch. I watch Dawkins a lot, and technique-wise, some of the things he does with his feet are like crazy to me, but he's a dog, man, and his pad level's good, and he finds a way. I mean, he does it. He's not your picture perfect technique guy, but his instincts are brilliant, and he gets it done. He's just got a dogged way about him, but he plays, I don't want to say without emotion, but and this is what I love, because this was the way that I always wanted to play. Just play so steady, just bore the guy to death, just frustrate him to death. Just be there, be in the face, have your hands in the right spot. And, it's been terrific to watch.
Yeah.
But I got a lot to say. So you want to go to the good? Are we on the good now?
We are officially on the good. I would say this. So what I wanted to bring up was just on the idea of the quarterbacks dropping, because we learned a lot about that over the last couple of years too with you, that, there's an expectation of where the quarterback's going to be. Mm-hmm. I remember where it was. It was in the Chris Sims interview. Did you see the interview with Josh Allen and Chris Sims, where Chris Sims from NBC interviewed him? They were literally on the Bills field, just kind of tossing the ball back and forth casually and just having a conversation.
I did not.
Well, you should watch it, because Josh gets I'll send you the link. Josh gets very transparent about a lot of things as it pertains to his throwing motion, his mechanics, the expectations in the offense. It kind of changes things. So one of the big things that Josh talked about was that there's a lot of offensive schemes out there, and you're probably very familiar, where there's so many quick steps for a quarterback, and then the way the next step is, and then the way the pivot foot is, and then the way the ball's got to come out. And he said that's nothing. There's none of that expectation in the Brian Daboll offense. The Brian Daboll offense is basically this, know the patterns, know the routes, and get the ball out. And Josh is free. Josh is free to effectively do whatever he needs to do to make sure the ball gets delivered. So if that's drop straight back, fine. If it's drop, duck out, that's fine. If it's create in the pocket, that's fine. If it's go back 12 yards, that's apparently fine.
I'm going to get apoplectic here in a second.
Exactly. So, which was interesting. But no, I would love to stay on the offensive line and then probably move to the defensive line, just as far as inside of this good conversation. When you look at I know you talked about Deion Dawkins, but when you look at
wait, whose show is this? Are you giving your good, or are you telling me what to say about my good?
No, I want to talk about the offensive line, but you can. It's your show. I don't know what to tell you. So, I can leave if you'd like.
You're telling me a lot. No, okay. We'll go to the offensive. Oh, bye, Joe. Damn, he's back. I lived large for all of 11 seconds. Okay, we'll talk about the offensive line, but what I want to say is this. Holy cow. I love the play of Devin Singletary and Zach Moss.
Oh, he was great.
They came downhill. They were decisive. They played with power, and they hit full speed when the opportunity was there. A couple of times they danced, and all running backs do that. I don't think we had but maybe 1 or 2 negative yardage runs, but they were half a yard or a quarter of a yard. But those guys they found the hole and they hit it. They just turned their shoulder pads up. Zach Moss did a really nice job. He was about 10 yards downfield. He saw the guy coming, and he leaned into that hit a little bit. Mm-hmm. It actually saves the hit a little when you lean into it, and you're able to secure the ball and then get that extra yard after it rather than kind of take a big hit, which can energize the defense. They played great. I was really pleased. James Cook put the ball on the ground. He'll learn. He did get back in, get another rep. He didn't get a carry, but he got another rep. That could be nerves, but definitely, he's got to secure that ball a little bit better.
You watched it back. It definitely wasn't nerves. He ran into a pile, basically with his arm flailing with the ball in it, as opposed to bringing that thing down.
I wouldn't call it flailing, but that's what I'm saying about nerves. Is your mind starts to get far afield, and you start to lose the focus on what's the most important thing is ball security.
Yeah.
And whether you're getting hit or not getting hit. You've seen guys running down the field and the ball pops out. It's like, how do you do that one?
But there's a notable difference between high school, college, and where they are now, where these guys know how to punch the ball out. Like they did it to Zach Moss.
That little flick, man. That little flick. It was like a 2-finger flick. Got the ball.
That dude was just standing there as Moss is coming at him, and he just kind of reached down and
he didn't even touch Moss except for the ball.
Right, just bumped it out.
Yeah. So offensive line wise, I thought it was solid. They use a pretty nice play here where they're pulling the tackle across the formation, or they're pulling the tight end. They're leading with Reggie Gilliam. So it's kind of modified power, which worked well until they ran it with Josh, we can talk about that in a few minutes, which I did not appreciate.
At the moment, running time. Can we talk about, or can we get the running backs to run more and not have Josh smash it up the middle?
Yeah, no, I'm okay. For the first 3 quarters where it's needed, it's a driving force behind this offense. They feed off of his energy. But when the game is more or less decided and we're down in the 4th quarter, there was one in particular where I was like, kid, just throw it away.
Yeah.
Just throw it away.
Indeed.
There were about 4 instances where I was kind of doing SMH or shaking my damn SMDH, right? Got to say it out loud to myself. I was a little annoyed by that. There was one play offensively on a pass pro where the sync between Ryan Bates and Mitch Morse was off. So Mitch was looking at the guy up ahead, and Morse had clearly called a slide to the left, which I guess is this way for you with listenership. And it was a miscommunication. They left the nose, and it's lucky that he didn't have a full head of steam. It didn't affect the play whatsoever. But those are the kind of things when you go in after a win, and sometimes in the room it's like, we won. You got to gloss over that. That's when Cromer brings him back and says, hey, shut the bleep up. What happened here? They might have even addressed it on the plane. I'm sure they addressed it on the sideline. They're going to talk about it again, but why? What didn't you hear? Why didn't we make that call? But beyond that, we had a lot of one-on-one matchups in the run game, and guys really battled. We won a lot of ties, which is really what you're trying to get a lot of times. Look at the size of Daquan Jones and Jordan Phillips. The days of driving a guy 5 yards down the field from the snap of the ball, I mean, that doesn't happen a lot. We let that guy go last year. We don't see that a lot.
Yeah, no more Jeff Wrights on the defensive line, at least in Buffalo, playing nose tackle. No, I thought the Buffalo Bills did an incredible job. I don't want to use the word containing, but doing what they had to do against Aaron Donald. Clearly, he was there. He was a force, and he was present. But there was a lot of times where whatever the play call was or whatever was going on, he was doing whatever he was trying to do, and then the ball would just go by him, or or Josh would literally
they got the ball out. The secondary
for
for the Rams was very unimpressive, and that ball came out.
I could not believe the couple times where the ball literally went straight over his helmet, and he didn't even get his hands up. Like the ball Josh just like, there you are, and just threw it straight over his head.
Trust me, man, you don't have a lot of chance when that's happening. It looks like it, but you don't. I mean, that ball's gone.
Gotcha.
I took a note though. I want to give due respect to Aaron Donald. I mean, he had a okay game, right? 1 sack. I mean, a guy like that, you expect him to get a sack. Mm-hmm. So he got his. But I saw a play on the screen, I think it was in the second quarter. He changed direction. He was coming up field at Josh. He wasn't going full speed, but he was moving pretty well.
Yeah.
And as soon as he read the screen, it wasn't like he collected himself and then turned, changed direction, and was at full speed. It happened like that.
Immediately, yep.
And, I didn't rewind a lot of plays because when you win, you just kind of watch them through a little bit.
Yeah.
I watched that a few times, and I just said, holy cow. I mean, that was impressive. I mean, the guy, and he's 10 years in now or 9 years in? Holy mackerel. Just what he did with his body and exploded. He was going this direction. He immediately went that direction. It was incredible.
Yeah, he's good.
I'll say this. They game planned pretty well. You cannot always slide to the guy. You can't always do it. There will be a one-on-one, and when he got it, he made hay. Right. Rick Bates did pretty well against him otherwise. Saffold did a nice job against him when he had him. Yep. So by and large, I mean, there was
Palmer Lott actually said Bates is a liability, which that's the first that I've heard anybody say that about Ryan Bates. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's like me picking the Bills to lose this game. I mean, I got to pick one, right? So, all right, if he's the liability on the offensive line and, and he's playing at a pretty damn high level, okay.
Right.
I mean, I'm not going to fight you. What's his name, Palmer?
Yeah, Palmer Lott. When you look at who's on the offensive line, he definitely, for all intents and purposes, isn't the name of any of those other guys. For me, I think the biggest plus for me was finally the realization and the actualization of this whole defensive line rotation. And Chris Collinsworth talked about it on, in the broadcast around the third or fourth quarter that, the Rams defense looked tired. It was hot. First game of the season. They had not gotten many preseason reps at all. Meanwhile, the Bills' defensive line was on the sidelines. The guys that weren't in the game bouncing up and down, ready to get back in the game in the third and fourth quarter.
Yeah.
That was the biggest takeaway I had.
I totally agree. And I talked about it a lot last year, and I was for it then. We have a different quality of guy, though, playing next to Ed Oliver, whether it's Jones or Phillips or Settle. I watched very closely what they did on pass plays, and they were always working. Their body was always tilted and moving toward the quarterback. Right. They didn't always affect the play, but they had more penetration than we had last year. There was more push on the offensive line, and that matters because if we have Von Miller and Epinesa and Groot and Boogie Basham playing the ends, and they're coming this way, even though the quarterback might feel high and dry, they'll tend to step up a little bit, whether it's just into the throw or step up to just get a little measure of time. But that you close that distance a little bit more, and it affects the follow through. It affects the ball. It'll sail a little bit, or you just make a misthrow, and it'll benefit us if they can keep this high caliber of play. Yeah, this is the solution to the secondary challenges.
Ryan Kinney says hello. I'm new. Well,
me too.
Well,
welcome aboard, Ryan. Happy to have you.
Let's before we jump into the needs work from this football game, why don't we jump over to House Capital and hear from John Fina as he talks about House Capital real quick.
I always want to talk about House Capital. Are you kidding me? Because sometimes when I'm looking for somebody, I want to buy a house. Yeah, somebody's got a guy, but it's Spaz Check. If you might need work done on your roof, I got a guy. I know like 3 roofers. You need an inspection? Yeah, there's like 20. There's 20 trucks driving around that do home inspections. I know somebody. I took a picture the other day. When you're looking to get a financing together, hey, you know what? Brian Belser's your guy from House Capital Corporation. He can be your guy. They help make the mortgage process simple, hassle-free, and understandable. At House Capital, their preferred relationships with some of the top lenders give you the edge up in getting the financing you need. Take it to the house with Brian Belser at House Capital.
Nice.
I'm not reading the NMLS number.
You're giving up tonight. Tonight is the night that you're giving up. So
what a night.
the next topic, the next series, if you will, is the work. And I'll be honest with you, there wasn't a ton of it. As much as I felt like the Bills weren't completely sharp, they obviously weren't in midseason form. It's hard for me to nitpick in this football game when you going into it, the considerations you had, Ken Dorsey, Brian Dable. Those be putting Brian Dable and Ken Dorsey's name together. Ken Dorsey and just
Dorsey.
Yeah, exactly. The concern level that we had there, like, is he gonna? He's never called plays before, and this isn't necessarily his offense. He's been in it for 4 years. He's grown up with Josh Allen, but what's that going to look like? Aaron Donald and the factor of Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, and Stephon Diggs. I don't want to say he ate, but he played really, really well in that football game. It's hard for me to nitpick. There were some times that I felt like they could do better on Cooper Kupp. And I know that there's an aspect of zone coverage, and I know that there's an aspect of a good receiver is going to find those soft spots in the zone, but it just feels like, if I'm going to complain about anything, this is a problem this Bills team has had forever. And you can go back to Rob Gronkowski, right? They do it with Travis Kelce. There's just it always seems like Tyreek Hill. There's that one guy on the other team, and they're just okay with letting him run around in the soft zones. Versus, oh, that's Cooper Kupp. I think I'm going to follow him. The one play that Cooper Kupp scored on, Kaiir Elam tried to jam him at the line and missed, and then Poyer was flat-footed. He was just kind of standing there, and Cooper ran right by him. And the ball was already in the air. Like Stafford, I don't know how he knew that Poyer wasn't going to react, but missed the jam. Poyer kind of flat-footed. Cooper goes right around him, touchdown in the back of the end zone. It didn't matter. Again, nitpicking, right? I mean, we're really, really nitpicking. But I don't even know that stuff you got. I mean, that's like you said, you're shoring that up on the plane, right?
Yeah, look, these guys are all professionals. Even the worst of them are better than all of them, in college, right?
Right.
I mean, that's why they're there. So you're going to give up a little bit. I think they expected more from, I can't remember the other receiver's name. He took OBJ's spot. And he didn't deliver at all.
Oh, you're talking about Allen Robinson.
Yeah, Allen Robinson. Sorry. Yeah. So sorry, Allen. So he didn't deliver at all, right?
He's a ghost.
But as a defense, you're still preparing for a guy who's a reasonable weapon.
Yeah, he's a big dude too. He's a real big boy.
Right. So those guys are going to get their shots. But I think by and large, what the defensive strategy here was, especially when we got out on top, is we'll let them take the underneath stuff. We have a little bit of a cushion here. Our offense is playing extremely well. We'll let them fight for the 10-yarders, the 9-yarders, but Cooper Kupp's a special guy. Not everybody has a guy like that. I would say the work, if you want to nitpick a little bit, I'll say the work is somebody's got to sit down and say, do we really want to run our quarterback in the fourth quarter when we have a 14 or 21 point lead?
About it. Yeah,
that to me is, it's just not wise. And I'll say this, at the very end of the game, we were going in. Josh was running the ball over the right side, I think. And if that were a running back, they'd take him to the ground and the play would be over. They see 17 and it's our guy, and there's a little extra at the end, but it's not a penalty. It's just a little extra. Taking out the multi-million-dollar quarterback is the way you slow a team down.
Oh, yeah.
It's a proven fact. Somebody proved it. I didn't. So I would nitpick on that. The play calling, aside from that, throughout the first 3 quarters of the game. I thought you really couldn't say, that was a head scratcher wide. They were all, I think, appropriate calls for the time of the game, the lead, the down and distance. They still struggle with the wide zone, but that doesn't mean you cannot run it. You got to show it. You got to work it. You got to have full speed film to address some of the issues that you might have running that particular play. I don't know, man. You're right. It's just hard to find a lot in there. I would say Jamison Crowder statistically had a very good game.
Yeah.
He's still like on that interception. Whether Josh threw the ball where he did because Crowder slowed down or not, but I felt like he should have still been accelerating. And if you go back, he was slowing down and settling when he shouldn't have because he had somebody on his shoulder.
I felt like Josh was late over the middle. And I think that's just what it comes down to. And as much as he trusts his arm, and we all do, for him to and he rifled a couple balls into some really insane windows in that game. That was just a ball he shouldn't have thrown. So it was a little behind him, but he was also late over the middle, which allowed the DB to catch up. The biggest, if we're going to stop.
But he might have been reading Crowder's slowing down.
It's fair.
And sometimes you just have decided, when you're playing golf and you take your club back and you ground it a little bit, and then you still make the swing,
right?
And the ball goes nowhere,
right?
And you're thinking to yourself, why the hell didn't I just stop? It's hard to stop,
right?
When you've decided, when you're in motion, and now your receiver's slowing down. So you're like, well, if I throw it where he's supposed to be, it's an incompletion. I want to give him a chance to catch it. And
yeah. If we're going to talk just for a minute and nitpick, if you will, and that's effectively when you come off a win like that, any type of work conversation is nitpicking.
Mm-hmm.
Your point about Josh is valid. Not so in his post-game press conference. I don't remember who it was. It may have been Catalana asked him, do you like running and taking those hits? And Josh, point blank, no emotion, said, I like to win. That was his answer to you like to take. You like taking these hits?
Yeah, that's his way of saying I don't care whatever I have to do.
Whatever I have to do, and he paused for a moment.
And how am I different than everybody else?
Right.
And I love that attitude.
Yeah. So he paused for a moment, and Von Miller chuckled because Vaughn was on the stand with him. So when he said, I like to win, Vaughn giggled, which was to me the best part of the whole press conference. And then he said, whatever they ask me to do, I'm going to do. I agree. And I think that's been a pretty big topic of conversation over the weekend is Josh Allen trying to do too much. So to your point about the little extra. So Josh, I don't remember what it was, but it was the big scrum in the middle. And I think it was the one where he came up in the third quarter and he was like wanting to fight the defensive line. But Jalen Ramsey has a hold of one of his legs. He's like literally tugging on one leg and Josh is bouncing on his other leg. There's 1,300,000 guys around him, right? Who at any given moment could fall in and crash down into his knee. There's just a point where you're like, I'm going to pick my other leg up and fall down. And Josh just doesn't do it. He won't do it. And I think that when you look at, we've talked about Jim Kelly, right? We've talked about the hits that Jim Kelly took in the USFL and how that beat him up and wore his body down so that when he got to the Buffalo Bills and became Jim Kelly, Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer for the Bills, it shortened his career. And you were there. You saw the deterioration of that at the time. I mean, 35 is a young man, 34 years old. It's a young man. You saw the deterioration. They talk about Cam Lewis. They talk about other guys that have played the game like this and what it's done to their bodies. And I want to see Josh Allen play for another 12 years. And if that means, to your point, in the fourth quarter, running and then chucking the ball out of bounds, he actually says in that interview with Chris Sims, I got to send you the link. And you need to watch it tonight. Put the game on mute and watch the video. Watch the interview.
What game? We already played our game.
No, there's a Monday Night Football game on.
Oh, there is?
Yeah, for you, it's a Monday afternoon football game in Arizona. But he literally says in that interview with Chris Sims, there are times that I literally know that I'm going to throw the ball away. Are you listening to me? I know
I'm listening.
I'm heading to the sideline. I know I'm going to throw the ball away, and I'll hold it just a wee little bit longer just to get that extra effort, push, or hit from the defensive lineman in hopes to draw a flag, which you think is like incredibly smart, except for the fact that a 300-pound dude is about to land on him.
Yeah, no, I mean the risk that to me isn't a big risk when he's on the run on the sideline. you're never going to control Josh on a drop back if he decides to run. Just can't call the designed run. And they called 2 of them that I just didn't care for. But again, we're nitpicking. We're loving the victory.
Yes.
Celebrating.
Yes.
I mean, but you got to. This is what coaching is, right? I mean, this is you like, you don't cancel the Monday meeting after the game or whenever the hell they had it just because we won.
Right.
So you got to go in. You don't learn anything from the stuff you did right. So it's real as a coach, you're like, the guys want to celebrate in the meeting, and you're always pulling like back to order. You're like the judge in the unruly courtroom in that movie that's been made 1,000 times, right?
Right.
Pull them back and draw them down and say, let's focus on this, because this team is focused, right? I mean, they are focused on getting it done, and the opportunities to get better cannot be ignored. And I don't think they will.
Oh, it was Mimi. I just clicked on Mimi's. But the moment says with a comment, the work for me has to be more of a complete offense, not rely on superhuman Josh to make every play. Imagine Shady or Fred Jackson on this team. The problem is Shady or Fred Jackson aren't on this team. I mean,
no, I totally disagree with the moment's comment. I don't think we relied on Josh for that game. I mean, quarterbacks throw the ball. And for the first 3 quarters of the game, we didn't see the Josh Allen show on his feet. We saw opportune moments where he, made the first down on the stiff arm, what have you. But those are not things that other quarterbacks would not do.
Right.
We saw Josh make great throws down the field. I almost said Dorsey move the pocket. Yep. He had a good mix of play action and a good mix of drop back, and they got the damn ball out.
Yep.
So
awesome.
I disagree. I have the moment, but thank you for coming to the show. We can fight in person.
Not this week, because John won't be here this week.
I'm not going to be there. Thanks a lot.
Eric Farrell says, it's not my fault. Eric Farrell says, weren't the called runs RPOs where Josh made the decision to keep the ball? I don't think some of them were designed.
I don't think it was an RPO. They're really designed runs. So the one in particular that I was talking about was a very similar play where the tight end of the tackle kicks out and Gilliam leads up, and we kind of ran it in one direction, but ran it as a counter to kind of trick them. All the offensive line went this way and Josh went that way. They didn't buy it, but that's when you expose your quarterback.
Yeah.
So I don't love it. I think the most success for this game with Josh with his feet is if he just converts a drop back into a run.
Yeah.
But again, the good that I didn't hit on earlier was just a number early on in the game. The mix of play action, moving the pocket, whether you want to call it bootleg or not, moving the pocket and drop back was terrific.
Yeah. I would 100% agree. So let's move now into the Titans game, as the Tennessee Titans are going to be coming into Buffalo. Monday Night Football for the home opener this coming week, a week from today. But before we do that, we're going to talk about our last sponsor, good old Iman and Q42.
Oh, Q42. It's a fan favorite in the Fina household. If you're going to make it to the game Monday night, Q42 will be there tailgating all day in the mud lot. I just love that we have a mud lot. Yeah, I went for the playoff game, and I didn't want to leave. It was amazing. Drop by for a beer, food hot off the grill, to pick up sauces and rubs, or just to hang out. Listen, pick up the sauces and rubs. I use them, and they're great.
So do we.
Hit Q42 up on Twitter if you need help finding the spot. If you're watching the game from home, go to Q42 Barbecue. I love how it rhymes. Q42barbecue.com. Punch in that all caps, Fina Show code, and you'll get 15% off your order. Go Bills!
You can throw that one away because he sends us a new read
every week.
Iman is
he's epic.
Super creative.
If he's listening right now, dude, my headstone is a tabula rasa. Put whatever you want on it. And you sign it Q42 and put a bottle in my casket. Actually, don't put the bottle in. I won't be able to open it. Just pour it over my body.
Dear Jesus. Yikes.
Why not?
Going into this football game, Derrick Henry coming into town. We talked a little bit about it kind of coming in. So the Tennessee Titans have traded or did trade at the draft A.J. Brown. They traded him to the Philadelphia Eagles. They drafted basically to replace him Treylon Burks, who I am just now discovering pre-show here is a second stringer. The starting wide receivers are Robert Woods, Nick Westbrook-Ikine, I think is how you pronounce that, and Kyle Phillips. One of those is a fifth-round rookie who's actually playing over Treylon Burks. But the big news is Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is a guy who the Buffalo Bills have done a good job in the past at times, kind of bottling up and kind of keeping contained. And then the last game last year where we played the Titans and lost in Tennessee, he had that one big 75-yard run that, let's be honest, there was two non-called holding penalties. One of them really
but you can never rely on the Zebras, Joe. Come on. So look, let's take something from the last game that most people, well, I'm not gonna say most people, maybe everybody noticed, but the fill from Milano and the fill from Edmonds on running plays when it was their job to fill, they did a very good job right off the outsides of the tackles, right? So if we get Phillips, Settle, Jones, Basham to play big in the middle, right? And we get the ends to keep from going upfield and creating a seam. Hold on. And our linebackers are filling in that outside guard, outside tackle gap. He's going to get his, right? Yeah. He's going to get a 7-yarder, an 8-yarder, maybe a 12. It's the same thing I talked about with Singletary and Moss. Well, I want to see the 12 and 14 and 16-yard scampers, but I don't want him to get them. Yeah. Anything under that 8-9 range, because he's going to get a couple of those. If we can limit it to that, if those are his longest runs of the day,
right,
we're in good shape. And do not sleep on Kyle Phillips, the rookie from UCLA, the late round pick.
Yeah.
I watched him all last year for obvious reasons, and that kid is incredible. And he's got a lineage, and he can play that position. He reminds me, dare I say, of the legend Cole Beasley, who I love, and a little bit like Cooper Kupp. I mean, that's the guy. He's got a savvy, and he's a little greasy. He'll slide into spaces. He knows when to sit down. He knows when to accelerate. Don't sleep on Kyle Phillips.
Yeah, for me, the big question is going to be who the scratches are, and it was somebody asked it or somebody brought it up earlier in the comments, just that Shaq Lawson is more than likely not going to be scratched. Shaq is our best edge setter, so I would probably expect to see Boogie Basham maybe get sat this week versus Shaq Lawson who got sat last week. That defense is going to have to be disciplined. They're going to have to do their job, and at the very same time, when you look offensively, it's funny because I said to somebody, I think last night on maybe it was today on Twitter, I don't understand why the Bills have to play the Titans when they lost to the Bills JV team, being the Giants. Like, you should have to beat the JV team before you have to play the varsity team. And the Titans losing to the Giants, Brian Daboll and the Giants, in, I don't want to say epic fashion, but it was pretty epic just to see Saquon Barkley come back and do what he did. He had a huge day against the Titans. It just, for me, this is that team that we play every single year. Every stinking year. We beat them 3 years ago. They beat us the last 2 years. Every game seems to potentially come down to the wire or come down to the last few plays. If anybody remembers 3 years ago, that was the Duke Williams walk-off touchdown. Obviously last year, Josh slips on the 1 yard line or whatever yard line he was on trying to get the first down because he went left instead of going right. At the end of the day, I'm expecting, if I have expectations, I'm expecting pandemonium in the stands, Monday Night Football, home opener in the summertime. Bills Mafia is going to be out tailgating all day long. I think there's a great measure of just feeding off of the energy of that stadium that the Bills are going to feel. And I would not be surprised if the Bills win this game by 3 possessions, whether it's 3 touchdowns or 2 touchdowns and a field goal.
Well, I'll say this. I mean, after that Thursday night game, you're right about one thing. That stadium is going to be insane. Insane. Barring rain, I can't even imagine how loud it's going to be. And that will affect them. It's going to be epic. it's going to be great.
I
don't disagree with you. I think that, one thing I noticed about Dorsey is, at the beginning of the game, he's just going to take what he thinks is going to be there until they take it away.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I was calling the plays. It was me. When we were, hurting them with some very kind of, 10-yard throws, 12-yard throws, a little bit of run here, a little bit of run there. And then you take the cork out of it and Josh throws, 55 yards from.
Oh, yeah.
I was crying a little bit. I was like, that's my guy. I felt like Jay Spett's the king. I was like, I love Josh Allen.
So what are your expectations? What do you expect to see from this next game against the Titans?
I expect to see an extraordinary amount of discipline from the front six on defense.
That's good.
Right. So the job number one is to stop Derrick Henry.
Right.
That is job number one.
Right.
Right. And if they do that, I just don't see Tannehill beating our secondary with the receivers that he has. I don't think that they have the weapons. It's, dare I say, a little bit like we saw Thursday night, only Derrick Henry is a better running back than Henderson. Although Henderson cracked off a couple.
Yes, he did.
Good football player. So I think we can make the game look not dissimilar to the game we played Thursday night. I don't see a lot of difference between the Rams and the Titans.
Well, the Titans don't have Aaron Donald. The Titans don't have.
Well, I just meant, functionally, as far as, nothing really wows me, offensively.
Right.
So, they don't have Aaron Donald, but we did have a problem with, what was his name last year? The Josh Allen, right? No, he plays for Jacksonville.
Jacksonville, yeah.
Yeah, so, look, it's going to be like, you were talking about, do they have kind of a letdown?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so. I personally think that McDermott, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Poyer and Hyde, Von Miller have this team, settled. Mm-hmm. And it's, in my opinion, it's better to come off in the early season with the victory on a Thursday night and have more time to settle in. A little bit of bloom is off the rose, or the gild is off the lily, and you become regular again and you're ready to focus. And I think that's where we'll be.
Yeah. Do you have a score prediction for this football game? I said mine was 3 possessions. I don't know what it's going to be, but I just expect it to be probably 3 possessions, 2 touchdowns, and a field goal.
Yeah, I mean, look, if I had to throw a number on it, I'm thinking it's going to be in the nature of 38-14.
That'd be amazing.
That I have a supreme amount of confidence in Josh. As much as he says he wants to win, he's going to get everything up. Although he is, he's not an emotional leader in that you see him, bitching and crying, right? Mm-hmm. But there's a set edge to him, I think, for a couple of games where vengeance is mine, saith 17, right? And I think this one falls into that category.
That's funny. Is there anything that you feel like other than Derrick Henry that the Bills are potentially going to have to watch out for? Is there a bugaboo, if you will?
No.
No bugaboos.
Mm-mm. I mean, you got to protect the ball better. Isaiah's got to make the catch. You can't put the ball on the ground. But beyond that, I mean, I don't see the performance. People have said it. You see it all over Twitter. The only thing that's going to beat this team is this team.
Right.
And I really think in this game that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've got a great defensive lineman in Simmons, and actually people are talking about him in the comments section right now that, he's going to go up against, he's a left defensive end. So he's going to play against Spencer Brown, so Spencer Brown's going to have a little bit of a test, but it's every week is going to be a test. These are professional athletes.
Yeah.
These are professional.
As long as Spencer Brown is staying long and he's not turning and Josh doesn't, drift on his drop, I think he's going to be okay. And there'll be instances where, they might add a little help if they feel that there's a real concern. But, what I'll say about the offensive line is they kind of disappeared in the game, -1 play. And that's a good thing
Yeah.
If you don't see them, if there's nothing to look at, you don't think about them.
Well,
And, -1 play by Rick Bates, what was there to say?
right. And that's, you said you try to make a career off of not being noticed, right? So not committing penalties.
Hey, and frankly, start fast. I mean, if they want to beat this team, don't let them hang around. Take the first drive down and score, whether you have the ball first or not. Get the first stop on defense, get the first score, or flip it. Get the first score and get the first stop. And I don't think Tennessee has enough moxie to say we can come back against this team if we get out in front.
Yeah. It's funny because Buffalo brother said that Bates had a tough going against Donald, and I'm guessing that's what the other person was inferring, or Pops Mafia was alluding to. I think it was somebody else.
Palmer.
Yeah, Paul. I don't know what you expect.
Well, look, I mean, I didn't look at the stats. How many times did we throw the ball? 45 times?
I actually don't know either. But when you look at, Ryan Bates and who Ryan Bates is, and I'll tell you real quick, Ryan Bates, is and again, maybe it shouldn't matter. He's a fourth year player. He came from Penn State. I don't have necessarily when he was drafted. I mean, he's playing arguably the greatest defensive lineman possibly to ever play football, right?
Well, it's certainly the easily the best defensive lineman in active football at the tackle position.
Right.
Hey, Aaron Donald's a special guy, and frankly, holding him to 1 sack, that's pretty damn good. Anybody who wants to keep, kicking that can, you're just going to kick it without me, because I give the great big yawn on that.
Just like when I bug you.
I mean, everybody knew Reggie White was great, right? Why can't we stop Reggie White? Why can't we stop Bruce Smith? Well, hell, better people than me have tried. I'm just glad that he was on my team and I only had to be embarrassed in training camp. Look, these guys get theirs, right? They're not legends, and they're not going to the Hall of Fame because they're sitting around eating Oreos on the sideline.
Is that what my problem is?
No, that is definitely your problem.
Sitting around eating Oreos.
Are you double stuff or regular?
Thin.
Ooh, thin.
The
thin for the win. Are you the mint ones or regular?
Regular. And I don't like them covered or coated and stuff. Like, I'm not into any of that stuff. So, but yeah, the thin.
I saw a meme on Twitter today. It said, PSA, thin mints don't work.
Especially if you've been eating garlic at Olive Garden.
No, get it? They're supposed to make you thin.
Oh, I was
thin
thinking
mints don't work.
I totally missed it. Yep.
That is awesome.
Now I feel like I need to rewind. I'm going to edit that part out so I don't sound like a big dork, because I totally missed that joke.
You can't edit this. You're going to edit my bonehead gaffes.
That's what keeps them coming back, John. They keep coming back because of your boneheaded gaff.
I thought they were coming back for my incredible assessment of Josh Allen.
Somebody did ask where you got that shirt. You're not going to respond?
Northern Dutch.
Northern Dutch. What is Northern Dutch?
He's a Bills Mafia. Come on.
Gotcha.
Northern Dutch.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah, he's okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
He's my guy.
I didn't know if
I was like, I better hold off. I don't want, like my man Mark, like the JF70 shirts. That guy's like in his basement. His arms are getting like this big running the screen press machine. It
is amazing how many of those shirts there are out there. Like, it's incredible.
Well, the thing that kills me is like somebody's trying to do a knockoff, and like, dude, how much are you gonna make like knocking off the JF70 shirt? Like, what are you pulling in on that? Like $14, dude? That'll make your year.
Probably less than that, but yeah.
Thanks a lot, bro. I lowballed it, and you just had to hammer me.
I just know what t-shirts cost. If you get a 2-color t-shirt print on one side, it's like $8 cost with the t-shirt and the print and stuff like that, $8 to $10. And if you get 2 colors, or I should say 2 sides, and that's the funny thing too about shirts is it doesn't matter how big the print is. So if you have this put on the front and the back, it's not more expensive than if you get this on the front and just this little circle on the back. Like if you get 2-sided, same price. Doesn't matter.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy expensive. Ladies and gentlemen.
So like the only logoed stuff I wear these days is Bills gear and UCLA, and I wear Arizona gear too. But
right.
Like my wardrobe is getting kind of weird. Like, this is like, what do I choose today? Am I red, white, and blue? Am I blue and gold? Am I blue and cardinal? I mean, I just.
So Pops Mafia, before we get out of here, has one other question that your daughter was answering, which was funny in the comment section. Fina, when are you going to a game this year? So we know that you're going to the Chiefs game. However,
I'm going with Joe Miller and the Market Dominator to Kansas City. Jerry Ostrowski's going to be there. I mean, tons of people are going to be there. Who else?
Chase Spence the King, Joe Marino.
Chase Spence the King, the Joe Marino, Alyssa Lekmalano. I mean, it's going to be crazy. I'm trying to book one where Mimi flies up from Tallahassee.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
I want to bring Roman out so people can. Yeah, I want to get Roman up there and try to get our lovely Italian exchange student out for a game.
Nice.
So we're taking donations because that's a big trip.
I'm out.
So we haven't decided. It's gonna be either I think it's the second game in October. I don't know if it's the 9th or 10th. I mean, when you're following UCLA and your kid there, when you got tickets to the Arizona game, when you want to get to a Bills game, when a buddy of yours is a Ravens fan and you got to go to Cleveland to watch the Ravens play Cleveland because you like your buddy.
Yeah.
And they have good delis in Cleveland. Corky and Lenny's, man, you get like a pastrami sandwich like this.
It's true. Did
I miss anybody?
Another good question. The moment asks, and I know the answer, but are ex-players allowed in the locker room at all?
Depends. I can ask.
It depends.
Do you want me to sneak you in my trench coat? Remember trench coats?
Yes.
Like, why did trench coats have the epaulets?
Why does it have shoulder pads?
I know, but they had those cool collars that went up like this, like you were like a low budget vampire. Right?
The answer to this question is which ex-player are you? Right?
That's true. I guess I could probably get a pass. I don't know.
I
don't know what I would do. What would I do in the locker room?
Brian Brom isn't coming to the home opener against the Titans and walking out on the field going, "I'm Brian Brom. I'm going to the locker room." Like, it's not happening.
I think, meeting a couple of the players would be great. I mean, I met Josh Allen and Tremaine Edmonds the day after they got drafted, and
that's cool.
Super awesome. But frankly, like, I just had the best time hanging out at the tailgate and partying, and at the playoff game, our suite opened up onto the stadium. Yeah. So I climbed out the window and I was running around. I mean, I have as much fun or more hanging around with the Bills Mafia nut jobs, of which apparently I am now one.
Yeah.
Thank you for accepting me into your hearts and your lunacy.
Apparently the October 9th game is the Steelers game. And not only are you...
No, November, not October. November.
I think you said October, bro.
I thought I said October, and then I said November. Gotcha. If I didn't, I meant either the 9th or 12th or whatever, 14th of October. There's 2 home games back to back. So who was that who looked it up? They could probably look it up again.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, we'll
make plans right now.
I'm gonna get us out of here. Is that all right?
We are.
Yeah, we're at time. We're overtime. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have been tuned into the Off Tackle with John Fina show, brought to you by the Market Dominator team on the Buffalo Rumblings Vidcast Network. Also brought to you by House Capital, as well as Q42, and presented by Picasso's Pizza. My name is Joe Miller. I'm the host of the show, and sitting alongside John Fina, the man, the myth, the legend. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired. You can find John on Twitter right there at John Fina. So follow John. He's a good time. He's a lot of fun. John, any final thoughts?
Yeah. Thanks for showing up for the show, everybody. Pass it along. If you liked it, somebody else will. And let's have a great time. Bring more people to the show.
Go ahead. No,
I was going to say, I can't make it to the game, everybody. So I expect you to double your decibel level in honor of my absence and really, support the team. I'll say this, one tip. Fans like to start screaming when they break the huddle. Start getting super loud when they're in the huddle, because it's that miscommunication of the play from the quarterback. that really caused. Hey, dude, I thought you said it was X out. You said X in or whatever. I don't know the damn place.
Those big giant jargon things. So one point of note. So tomorrow, Code of Conduct. Wednesday, obviously Hump Day Hotline. Thursday, Buffalo Nerd. Friday is going to be food for thought, and then the karaoke night is Friday. Saturday is the Megapod that you're not going to be at Resurgence Brewery, and then my show will be Monday night post game, and then this show, we haven't talked about it yet, is going to be at 8 or 9 o'clock on Tuesday night, the day after the game. So everybody put it in your calendar right now. The Off Tackle with John Fina show will not be on Monday next week. It will be on Tuesday. But for Joe Miller, for John Fina, for Buffalo Rumblings, for the Market Dominator, House Capital, and Q42 Barbecue, go Bills.
Go Bills.